Rainbow Six Siege has been out for a total of 8 years now, and in that time a lot of people have come and gone. If you're someone who has played the game before in previous years and are thinking about returning, then you'll come to find the game is a lot different than it was years ago. Nowadays, Rainbow Six Siege is played a lot more fast-paced, and that's because of the current meta we're in. This meta is called the TDM meta, and that's because people are playing more like if it were a game of TDM. Typically in a game of TDM, you're focusing on just getting kills because there's no other objective, and you're playing more fast-paced and aggressive to get those kills because you want to have the most amount of kills to be able to win the game. That's kind of what Rainbow Six Siege has turned into because everyone is playing a lot more fast-paced and a lot more aggressively. On top of that, people are playing more to get kills compared to actually playing the objective. Now, this may be a turnoff for some people because a few years ago, the game was played slower and more tactically. People actually droned, used utility, and played as a team. So if you're looking for that kind of experience, then unfortunately it's not here anymore. Now, people barely drone at all, won't use their utility, will barely set up the bomb site, and would rather bring a good gun with a 1.5 scope compared to playing as someone the team would really need, like a Cade or a Mute. Speaking of the 1.5 scope, that's now the best scope in the game by far. You want to be running the 1.5 scope on all the operators that have it available to them. This is because the 1.5 scope is good at both long ranges and close ranges. It's the best of both worlds and by far has the cleanest peripherals out of any scope in the game. Not to mention the sights themselves are super clean and it's the right zoom to where it's not too zoomed in, but also not too zoomed out. It's such a good scope that it puts operators within the meta when they get the scope added, and it takes operators out of the meta when they get the scope removed. It's a major reason for some of the best operators to use, which is what I'd like to talk about next, the best operators within the game currently. Now, as of the making of this video within Year 8 Season 3, these are the current best operators. However, some of these operators could be bad within the future because of nerfs. Anyhow, the top 5 best operators on defense are Warden, Thorn, Mozzie, Azami, and Fenrir. The reason for the first 3 operators, which is Warden, Thorn, and Mozzie, being so good right now is literally because they have great guns with a 1.5 scope on it. So if they end up losing the 1.5 scope, then they probably won't be that good anymore. As for Azami and Fenrir, they are good because of their gadgets. Azami can create pieces of cover where there wasn't pieces of cover originally, while Fenrir can turn a player's screen completely black from running into his gadget, which is really powerful for slowing the enemy down and stopping a push. As for the attackers, the top 5 best operators are Ayana, Ash, Ace, Sledge, and Buck. These operators are the best because they all have good guns with a 1.5 scope on it and have great gadgets. Ayana can clone herself to gain a lot of information and has grenades. Ash is great for rushes. Ace is the best hard breacher. Sledge is great for making rotates and playing vertical, plus he has grenades. And finally, Buck is great for making rotates and playing vertical. Again, these operators can very easily be taken out of the meta and replaced by someone else, so they're really just the best as of now. Also, I should mention these operators aren't based on my opinion. These are just the most picked operators currently according to the charts from Ubisoft. Moving on to the game's health, it's honestly in a good spot as there's not really any game-breaking bugs or glitches currently. The game itself still runs pretty smoothly, and you could honestly get some pretty high frame rates even on lower end builds or on console. I'd say the only thing is graphically the game doesn't look the best, as it's been on the same engine for the last 8 years, so honestly, what can you expect? Additionally, as a returning player, an important thing you want to work on and practice is getting better aim. Gun skill is extremely important as of right now because of the meta we're in. You can't just bring an important gadget and think your job is done now. You actually have to engage in gunfights and win them. The only way you're going to win them is by having good aim, so I highly suggest you practice in the training grounds or the shooting range and really get your aim down. I'd also work on your crosshair placement as well because that'll help you win more gunfights. If you're constantly aiming at feet level, then that's where you're going to be shooting when you get into a gunfight. Within a one-shot headshot game, that's not ideal because you want to set yourself up to be as close to the head as possible. The only way you're going to do that is by having your crosshairs at head level. In other words, if your crosshair is at head level, then you'll most likely hit more headshots, or at very least hit the upper chest of the body, which does more damage compared to hitting the lower part of the body. So again, go into the training grounds or the shooting range and practice. I suggest playing with headshots only on because that'll really make you get into the habit to always have your crosshairs at head level. Moreover, a great tip to help you do better if you're a returning player is to play at your team's pace. If you haven't played Rainbow Six Siege in a few years, you're probably going to be used to playing more slowly and more importantly as a team. But nowadays, people play more fast-paced and just kind of do their own thing. So make sure, especially if you're solo queuing, to feel out how your team plays and go at their pace. If you get a hyper-aggressive team who loves to push the bomb site right away, then get aggressive with them. Don't just be playing super slow and droning in spawn while your team is already on site. The same goes for if your team plays a little bit more slowly. Maybe your team actually likes to drone and wants to take their time to get into the bomb site. Then you should be doing the same thing instead of just rushing into the bomb site with no support at all and then dying instantly. Don't think this just applies to the attacking side of things either, because it also applies for the defense. You could get a really hyper aggressive team on defense who likes to spawn peek and get right into the fight as soon as the enemy gets into the building. But you could also have a team who likes to sit on the bomb site and wait for the enemy to come to them. It all just comes down to the people you play with and how they like to play. Furthermore, I probably should mention that if you're a returning player, you're probably used to rank 1.0. Well, now there's rank 2.0 out, which is completely different. So within rank 2.0, there's no more placement matches. Instead, everyone starts at Copper 5 and works themselves up from there. Depending on where your rank typically was within ranked 1.0 and how well you're playing within ranked 2.0, it will determine how much RP you earn while you level up. So let's say your rank was typically gold within rank 1.0. Then within rank 2.0, you'll most likely be able to get to gold pretty quickly. Then if you're playing well, you'll probably be able to get beyond gold and make it into plat or higher. This system still uses a form of MMR within the background, so you don't exactly see what's going on, but pretty much what it's doing is trying to match you against people of similar skill level the entire time. This is where things get confusing because you'd think that if you're starting in Copper, you'd be playing against other Coppers, but you'd be wrong. Since there's a form of MMR in the background, it causes you to be going up against people that are around your highest rank. That means you could be in Copper going up against Golds just because you've made it to Gold before. Weirdly enough, it seems this new system is extremely generous, as if you were hard stuck Gold before, now you have the opportunity to make it into higher ranks. For reference, in ranked 1.0 there were about 1,000 PC champions. Now within ranked 2.0, there's about 10,000 PC champions. So overall, ranked 2.0 just made ranked a lot easier. Unfortunately, most of the community doesn't like ranked 2.0 because of this very reason. Most people think it gives people ranks that they don't deserve, making the top rank in the game, that being champion, feel less like an accomplishment. Finally, the last thing that you should know as a returning player is because of the meta, it's all about swing or be swung now. What this means is because of factors like server delay and ping, when you swing on an enemy, you'll most likely win that gunfight. The same goes for if the enemy swings you, then they'll most likely win the gunfight. So you always want to be the one who's swinging. To do that, you're going to want to use the information that you have at your disposal to gain intel on the enemy. That means you still want to be droning and you still want to be checking the default cameras. This way you could figure out where the enemy is and use that information to swing them and get the kill. If you have no information at all, then use whatever you can to your advantage, like sound or even any knowledge of common angles that people would typically hold. In conclusion, if you're a returning player to Rainbow Six Siege, then there's a lot you're going to have to learn and adapt to. From the new meta we're in, to the best operators to use, to even the new ranked system, there's a lot to take in. Rainbow Six Siege has come a long way in the past 8 years, and has consistently been evolving and changing, whether that's for the best or for the worst. The game is definitely a lot different from what it was a few years ago, and that shows. If you're someone who's looking to return to the game thinking it's going to be the same thing, unfortunately that's just not the case. So I would take that into consideration before deciding to get back into Rainbow Six Siege. That's it for me though. Have you decided to return back to Rainbow Six Siege? If so, then when was the last time you played before your return? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like, and if you want more content like this, then subscribe. Have a great day, everyone.